Misha. I'm here to help you connect the dots with insulin resistance. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, and let's go. So I'm in Maryland, and it's super bright and sunny out there. Where are you guys all from? And also, do you guys suffer with any of the things above? I guess I better put that up over here. There we go. Um, So I'm here to talk about all of these things because most of us are suffering from something like the PCOS, the thyroid, headaches, body aches, high blood pressure, excess weight that won't go away, feeling tired after we eat, all of those things, and you're not getting answers from your physician. So first of all, where's everybody? There's a bunch of you hopping in. Where's everybody coming in from? I'd love to know. Um, I'm new to the East Coast. This is still like it's only been a year, and I love it. Every time I take a drive, we get to see something new, and I'm surprised at how quickly I'm in a city and how quickly I'm in this beautiful wooded area out here, especially when I go down towards Virginia. Next weekend, we're going up to Pennsylvania for pumpkin patch and corn maze with my grandson. So, where are you guys all from? Christine, are you actually here? Or are you just on, honey? Um, Anybody from the West Coast in here? Because I grew up in Washington State and Idaho um, most of my life and just really moved out here all the way across the nation a year ago. And like I said, I love it. I loved it on the West Coast, but I love it out here. All right, let's get down to it, you guys. UK, Amanda, welcome from the UK. I love when we get people in from the UK and areas overseas from here. So let's dive in. Hopefully, I can help answer some questions and get things moving for you guys so that your health doesn't have to feel so unobtainable. Because what's happened with most of us is, like I said, most of us are going into a doctor or trying to figure out why we've put on weight and can't take it off. It's not just that we've put it on for most of us, it's that it's really hard to get it back off. And you try all the things that everybody says, eat every 2 hours, exercise your butt off, restrict your calories, all of those things, and you're not able to lose weight. We'll have some answers for you. If you're having that brain fog or fatigue and it just is like taking over your life and you don't feel like you anymore, that was me. 2 years ago I didn't feel like me at all. I felt like I struggled for every word that came out of my mouth. Fibromyalgia, you guys, for those of you who haven't experienced it, it's this body-wide ache and pain, and if you have it, you just are likely to say, I don't know, it's nothing in particular, I just hurt all over. Fibromyalgia is highly linked to insulin resistance. So we're going to go over a number of these things. I'm going to talk about what insulin resistance is. We're going to talk about how you can get over it and reverse a lot of these things like I did. Okay? So, thank you. All right, where to start? Happy Thursday, Yvette. Good morning. It's good to see you in here. I didn't recognize you. I wasn't sure if that was you the other morning or not. So thanks for dropping by. Yvette, by the way, is a diabetic nurse of years and is doing the same system that I'm doing now instead of all of those medications and helping people get better by doing this over doing all of the medications that the doctors want to prescribe you that are actually causing you more damage in your body-wide. You guys, those medications are not helping. And she says she's seeing more healing now in the people that she deals with than she did when she was dealing with those injectables and those medications. So what we're doing is just a natural system. First of all, we need to understand that the cause of insulin resistance and diabetes is that our food is imperfect. It's been stripped of nutrients that we need in order for our body to digest it. Wow, that fell off. And so some of those things are fibers. There's a number of other things. So what we're doing is we have a tea that we drink in the morning. We do some intermittent fasting. Then we follow these principles: fiber before we eat anything. Then we have protein first and fill up with fats. So those three things should make up the bulk of our meal. Then you're going to limit carbs. You're going to do some time-based eating, and you're going to move your body. You guys, your body's 25 to 30% muscle. So the more active you can make that muscle, the more insulin sensitive it is, because it wants the energy to come in. And now you're part way there. It didn't work for you. Why would it work for us? What do you mean if it didn't work for me? Yep, we need less sugar and more fiber. So what I do is this tea that I'm doing in the morning, and then because I don't want to worry about getting in the variety of fibers I need before I eat every time, I supplement. So I supplement with a fiber that I drink 10 minutes and before I eat, and then I eat whatever I'm going to eat. I did a video yesterday called Day 16. It's a fed day on my every other day fast. And so I show you the foods I ate, but before I ate any of those, I had that fiber supplement. So that's what we're doing. And if you want to know more about the system, just ask and I can let you on that. So most medication, so most medications were, Chuck, Athena, I still don't understand that question. Most medications were not working. So I have two family members that are in that were in big pharma sales. I worked in medical offices myself, in hormone clinics, in urgent cares, in a number of different clinics, and I saw what was happening there. And nobody talked about insulin resistance. Nobody talked about the fact that until we get understood what's going on with the food that we're eating, whether you're vegan or carnivore or whatever, we need fiber. I was listening to a doctor talk about this weekend, it was this week. But anyway, he said, we talk about protein so much as that protein is this big misunderstood nutrient that we need, and yet the one nutrient that is overlooked, that's the most impactful to our life, that can create more longevity, that can help us with all of this, is fiber. But it's not just that psyllium husk fiber or that tube kind of fiber that you get in the big canisters. And check your fibers. Most of them have added sugars. If you're trying to regulate your sugars, why would you add sugars to that supplement? This one doesn't do that. Yeah, Robert Lustig is great. So it is unicity, Chuck. So you guys, if you want the system, you can just go to my profile up there. I'm going to tell you why it works here, and we're going to talk about that. But just tap on my profile picture. When you get to my profile, there's two red light symbols under my picture. Right below that is a link that will take you to where to purchase the system. So the tea that I drink in the morning isn't just any tea. It helps me feel satiated by helping me burn my own fat for fuel. It helps my body decide to kick out more ketones, which are the messengers that are telling my body to burn more fat for fuel. It's giving nutrients to my brain that can't get there otherwise, that are helping with my wellness score. So it's helping with serotonin and dopamine production and uptake. It's helping with depression, anxiety, and it's helping with mental clarity. But it's giving you energy because it's doing all of these things. So energy isn't just physical, and energy isn't just mental. So both of them have to meet for you to have the kind of energy we want to feel. When you start drinking the tea, you're going to notice you have this energy that you've never felt for a long time. And it will be like, what is this? It's a plant-based, it's a plant tea that we've just concentrated and purified so that you're getting the most benefit out of this that you can get from anywhere. And it's highly dense in nutrients, antioxidants, and anti-cancer properties. Then, after I do my intermittent fast, so if I eat dinner at 6 o'clock last night, 6 o'clock this morning is 12 hours. I want to make it 16, right? So I make 4 more hours. That's 10 o'clock this morning. And this does not break my fast. So I can drink this tea, not break my fast. And then somewhere between 10 and noon, more for me most days, it's about noon, that I have my meal. I drink this 10 minutes before my meal. And that multi-fiber matrix has soluble and insoluble fibers in it, and that's important. But what that does is once it hits my gut, it starts to gel up, thicken up, and it starts to make me feel full before I even eat. For me, because I had such an acidic gut, it helped soothe all of that down. But now with that thick gel matrix sitting in the bottom of your gut, when you do eat, it encapsulates that. And I like to think of it like a time release capsule. So now instead of eating and your food shooting straight through your body because it's been stripped of all of this, it slows it down. Now that food's not hitting your system as quickly, you stay fuller longer. It reduces the way your blood glucose spikes, which reduces the way your insulin spikes, and that's what starts to reverse all of this. And that's the system. That's it. Yeah. So, do you use Unicity, Chuck, and the system? You guys, I have people with me that have been doing the system almost as long as me. So I started, and within a week, I started seeing within 1 week. So let's talk about that really quick. Within the first week, when I got the system, first of all, I was on 10 different medications. My blood pressure would run to 180 over 150 every single day. The best we could get it to in a doctor's office was 150 over 110. They were cycling me through medications, trying to figure out how to get that blood pressure down, because that's death. That's just literally death. Some nights during the week, it would go up to like 220, 240, 260 over around 150, 160. That's terrifying. I don't know how my heart is still here, but it is, and I'm thankful. But I also had diabetes, and those numbers, my A1C was climbing. It seemed like every appointment I went in, it was climbing. I had edema, I had neuropathy, I had body-wide pain, my hair was falling out, my eyes were failing, my teeth wouldn't stop bleeding. I would be tired after I ate every time. Okay, so that was me 2 years ago, and now just from doing those three things, tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink before I eat, a pre-meal drink before I eat, I was able to throw away all 10 medications. I was able to reverse all of this stuff up here, all of this, and I was able to get my health back. You guys, 2 years ago, I couldn't walk up and down stairs. I would be angry. Even when I was so used to this that when I moved out here a year ago, I was scared. Like, what happens if this happens to me again? So every place that I wanted to live, I had to check, did they have an elevator, or it had to be a first floor apartment. I no longer worry about that. This summer, I ran up and down stairs. My kids have a house that you have to go upstairs to get to their main floor, and it's not a problem. My grandson and he has more problems on the stairs than I do. But that's my reality. So I went from this in 2021 and being able to donate my walker and my cane and all that, because I no longer need it at all, and being able to get back in the gym. It was on one of my videos. Somebody asked, do I work out? You guys, I used to work out all the time, and I have not been working out like I should. Not because I can't, because I'm so busy that I mentally have a hard time breaking away to get down to the gym. So yesterday I was like, this is ridiculous, Misha. You used to work out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, and you can't walk to the other end of your complex that has a great gym in it. Stop it. So I do walk every day. I do Qigong. I do a number of those things, but I'm starting back into doing some light resistance training because it makes me feel good. All right. Thank you, Selena. Or Celine. I'm not sure how you say it, but you guys, it's super simple, and there are more than that. Do you guys want to see some other people who have gotten better with the system? Because I would love to show you a number of other people. Let's take a look. Let me get this straightened around over here so you guys can see. Let's flip this camera around so you can see some of these stories. Hi. It's almost time to change the artwork out because it's almost time to hang those up in the living room. I change it for the quick turnaround. Mark, are you on the system, or you're surprised about my quick turnaround? I'd love to know which one it is. So this was me, guys, up top here, me on the bottom, me on top. So this is just another picture of me. I have very few pictures of me because I just didn't let people take pictures unless it was from the head and shoulders up. But that was me. So my belly was poking out, and I had a ton of visceral fat. I had this huge double chin. I was just in pain all the time. You're on the system for a week. Tell us about what's going on with you. And if you want to hop on with me, I'm more than happy to have you hop on and tell us what's happening with you because I love to hear new stories. But those are my numbers. So I had lost 55 pounds at that point. I went from an A1C of 7.4 to 5.3. I haven't had my A1C tested in over a year, so I do my blood sugars and my ketones every day, and I check all. I'll show you guys how to check if you're staying insulin sensitive, if anybody wants to know. So then all of those other things were me as well. But this isn't all about me because it's about people like Mark who are getting success on the system in 1 week. That happened for me. Why are you not moving? Huh. My slides aren't wanting to move. What is going on? That's why, because I was going the wrong way, you guys. Go figure. Okay, so this is Alexis. Some of you may or may not know. I haven't seen Alexis on for a while, but she's actually down to a size 6 now. She didn't have diabetes, but her family, she had it affect her family so bad she did not want to leave her kids with that same legacy that had happened with her and her family. And so she's doing great. Beautiful, beautiful soul. And your all levels are high. That was me. My blood work was, my A1C was 7.4. My triglycerides were like 198. Not the worst, right? But still pretty damn high. My blood sugars were around 240, 260. My blood pressure, like I said, was 180 over 150. It was insane, and it was getting worse. The first week, I had my first blood pressure reading at 126 over 84. Now, it took a while for that to really normalize down to that level, and now I wake up every morning. I have both a stethoscope and blood pressure cuff because I used to do that every day, and I have a watch that checks my blood pressure, and it's 112 over 74 every morning now. You'll be surprised. Just stick with it, stay consistent, use your coach for questions and answers, and make sure that I'm excited to hear where you are in 3 months. But then, so that was Alexis. Now, this is a friend of mine. She doesn't want her name shared, but she's lost now 50 pounds. She had diverticulitis. She had kidney stones, depression, anxiety, joint pain. You guys, one thing, I've had this discussion a couple of times this week. Can I get my words out? But look at the change in her. You can see her belly was big, but it wasn't just floppy. That's visceral fat. Now she's a smoker, so if you don't know, smoking does make you more insulin resistant, so you're going to fight that belly fat even more. But she's doing a great job, and it's just changing her life. She's really happy with what's happened because she was embarrassed to be seen at the other point in the other picture. Good morning, Moody. This is my friend Christy. So we get this question all the time too. Oh, diverticulitis. Diverticulitis is closely linked to insulin resistance. I'm doing some research this week so I can put together an intelligible answer because I've had that question a lot. You guys, if you have intestinal issues, one of the things that's happening is you have probably gotten in way too much sugar, but you probably are not getting in near enough fiber. But with you might want to take it a little slower at first and build up until your gut can get used to it. You'll be surprised at how your gut cleans up. You can have black coffee while you're fasting. Just black though, okay? You can add stevia as a sweetener, but I wouldn't really add anything else, and ask me in a second. Well, I'll just tell you right now. So those creamer substitutes that are low in calories and whatnot are made from seed oils, and seed oils, research has shown that those seed oils do increase your insulin resistance, so stay away from the seed oils. So I would just stick with that during the fasting hours. Okay, so Christy, she's a bodybuilder. She's also a trainer, but in this first picture, you can see she had a little bloating. She was still lean, she was still strong, all the things. But there's this excess layer of water that bothered her. What nobody knew was that she was suffering with diabetes, IBS, she had inflammation, she had anxiety, she had low energy. She started the system, and then this is her at the same point in off season on the system. Her calories, her exercise is the same, but her body has removed that inflammation. She reversed her diabetes. Her mental state is much better. You guys, insulin resistance causes a lot of depression and anxiety. It causes a lot of it. And it's not just, oh, you don't know how to think right, or doing more affirmations is going to make you better. You've got to fix physiologically what's going on in order to have that get better. This is my guy Jason. He's down even more. This says 50. It was 150. He's down now over 160 pounds. His A1C went from 13.3. It's now 3. It's now down under 6. I've got to fix this slide because he just keeps crushing it. And he got over all of those things. Some of the things, gentlemen who are in here, that he didn't talk to me about until after the fact was that he was experiencing low testosterone and erectile dysfunction. Both of those things have gotten better as he's gotten his insulin resistance under control. His doctor wanted to put him on all the medications. His doctor wanted to give him gastric bypass. He refused. Instead, he did this, and now he's really happy he did. This is Cindy. She's now lost, I think, 120 pounds, and she's crushing it. So, and she's 63 years old. So, ladies, postmenopause, premenopause, menopause, you can do this. I'm postmenopausal, she's postmenopausal, we both did it. All right, and then Karen, hers A1C, she wasn't as big. I like to talk about this, and I haven't talked about it for a minute, so I want to share with you guys. Do you guys want to know an interesting thing about your fat cells? Moody, so what I'm recommending is this system, the protocol that I use that helped me with my diabetes, what helped me with all the things that I'll show you again in a minute, and helped all of these people is a simple protocol based on a tea that we drink in the morning. But it's not just a tea. Everybody says it's a tea, it's a tea. No, it's a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink that we have twice every day before each meal that we eat. So we do some intermittent fasting. We have a tea in the morning. And by the way, don't let the intermittent fasting scare you. I was so food addicted, I couldn't make it through a morning without eating. I would be like cranky and angry. That's a symptom of insulin resistance. The tea shuts down your hunger, gives you energy, allows you to burn fat for fuel, allows you to start switching metabolically. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So the tea does all of that. It helps you burn fat for fuel. It gives you mental energy. It gives you clarity without jitters, and it's heart healthy. That in the morning. Then by the time I'm 16 hours from my last meal last night, then I can start eating. And you'll be surprised that you're not hungry. You're not struggling through that morning. And then you get to have your meal. You just precede it 10 minutes before with a drink that you mix in water. So both of these just mix in water. That's the goal of them. This in here, shake it up, drink that down, wait 10 minutes, and then eat. Look, if you guys are on a busy job, I did a busy job for a while, and I didn't have 10 minutes notice. So I would drink it and just make sure I got it in. What happens when you drink this? There's 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in there. There's a number of other components in there like vitamins and minerals that are great for metabolism. But it gets in your gut, it gels up, it starts to make you feel full before you even eat. For me, it soothed my acidic gut, and then it helps slow down the delivery of food into your bloodstream. So it slows it down through the digestive tract and being absorbed into the bloodstream. So it's like a time release capsule. So right now when we eat, it's like this freight train that we eat, and this freight train just comes along and hits our system, and now we have this blood sugar spike that's creating all of these problems. The system helps slow that down, so it's not like that freight train anymore. It's like time releasing. It reduces a blood sugar spike by 27% with just one packet of that pre-meal drink. And so I wait 4 to 6 hours after my first meal, do the same thing. You guys, you don't have to change what you eat drastically. Look, you can, but you don't have to. It's up to you. I started out, I was driving for Lyft and Uber because it was the only thing I could do because I had a walker and a cane and I just couldn't be on my feet and I was in so much pain. I never knew if I was going to be able to make it to a regular job on time. A lot of things were going on. So I drove the overnight shift because it was the most profitable. It was the most money for the least time at the time, but that meant there was nothing open. So one meal a day for me during those first few months as I went from this first picture down to that second one, I had McDonald's or Jack in the Box every day. Am I recommending that? No. But is that what reality was for me? Yes. Do I eat much better than that now? Yes. But you start where you're at. The system helps you along the way. It's not a free pass to just eat junk, but it helps. Okay. So this is my gal Stephanie. She didn't have diabetes, any of that. Nobody thought she had to lose weight, but she was uncomfortable. She started the system within a week, 2 weeks of me starting because we were friends and she was on a meeting with me and saw how much difference I was. And she was like, I'm going to try it because she's all about natural cures. She has never stopped. And since then, she has these 4-pack abs and she's leaned out. Dia has lost over 60 pounds. Go follow her. She's amazing. And she has her whole family on it. Both my daughters and 2 of my grandchildren are doing the system. Type 1 diabetic has been able to do it and help himself. So you guys, this isn't just about, oh, that's my feet, all swollen before and painful and I could hardly walk on them. And then the second picture was because I'd been on planes for 12 hours and through airports and I got home and took my shoes off and there was no swelling in my feet. That hadn't happened in a long time, and all of it was just because of this real food system that I'm talking about. So let me get this fixed. You guys, I'm on YouTube and Facebook as well. So, all right. So, no, you don't smack. So let's talk about that. You lost 5 pounds in 4 days. So you guys, part of the problem, let's talk about why we're having insulin resistance in the first place and why you're not snacking. I was thinking about this last night. Like the biggest lie that we've been told is to eat every 2 hours and sold all of these snacks that we don't need. So every time, let's take it 2 steps back, okay? Because I want to explain this so it makes sense, hopefully. So insulin resistance is happening because the food that we're eating converts into energy, right? But the food that we're eating converts into energy too quickly. Now, all of your foods outside of fats are going to spike your insulin. They turn into a different kind of energy that doesn't spike the insulin. Proteins and carbohydrates will spike your insulin. So every time you eat, whether it's a snack or a meal, you're eliciting an insulin response. Now, I do another whole thing and I can show that slide too, but when we eat, it takes about 8 hours for that insulin to come back down. So if we're eating every 2 hours, we're never allowing that insulin to come down. We're always in an insulin dependent state, which means insulin is always in our system, always annoying our cells, and our cells are saying no to it because they're just so tired of hearing from it all the time, even though they need it. Okay, so this whole thing, you guys, when you hear people saying eat every 2 hours, especially eat before you get hungry, we don't want you to overeat, that's some bullshit. Because what you're doing is you're training your body to reset its metabolism. So now if you're cueing yourself to eat before you're hungry, your body's going to go, oh, okay, so we need to change that. We need to send that hunger cue out sooner. And over time, this doesn't happen in a week or 2 weeks. Over time, you start to become more hungry more often because you've trained your body to have all that food all the time. And there's no science. You guys, this is so, there's a couple of authors you can listen to if you want to check some of this stuff out. check out Dr. Mindy Pelz, Pelz on YouTube, and check out anything by Dr. Bickman on YouTube. Dr. Fung is great. He talks a little higher. Sometimes he's a little hard for me to follow. So you guys, the two that I would recommend are Dr. Pelz and Dr. Bickman. But they both will tell you there is no scientific study, not one, that shows that eating every 2 hours boosts your metabolism. It actually goes the opposite way. So when you're eating constantly every couple of hours, what you're doing is telling your metabolism to rely on insulin more. It never allows you to get into a fat burning stage. So why is that? Here, let's pull the curtain back a little bit more, okay? So if we're insulin resistant, that means that we got there because we constantly have insulin in our body because we're constantly eating, okay? So what the important part is that when we have insulin in our system, we need to get it to go to bed because insulin is a hormone. But it's a primary hormone because insulin's job is to deliver energy to our cells in our body so that our body can function properly. But we've overloaded our system with insulin and now the cells don't want to hear from it. So we have this cycle of we have more and more insulin, but the cells don't want to hear from it. So it's dumping it off in your fat cells, which is a storage unit of holding energy for later. But that energy never gets released because insulin is constantly out there shoving more energy at your cells whenever it can. So what we need to do is get insulin to come down. When insulin comes down, now the component, because you know already everything in life is yin yang, light dark, right? We have day and we have night. Everything has a balance. So the balance to insulin is glucagon. Why? Insulin is an energy saver. It's holding on to the energy. It's taking that energy and delivering it everywhere. Glucagon is an energy spender. So it's like, ooh, there's all this energy in the body. I want to go spend it somewhere. So I want to get out there and I want to like eat up all these fat cells. I want to eat up all these junk cells. I want to eat up all this stuff. But it can't spend as long as the saver is out and doing its job. Okay? So when we're snacking, we're having this energy saver be like, ooh, good, more to save, more to save. But it's not allowing you to spend. And your cells are like, dude, my bank vaults are full. Go check out the storage unit. The storage unit finally says, we're full. It ends up back in your bloodstream. Now you have a whole other level of problems. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to anybody? We have to allow glucagon to come out, the component hormone to insulin, to be metabolically flexible and metabolically healthy so that we can burn fat for fuel and start to have normal energy levels, okay? So I hope that answers those questions. And all right, so does anybody else have questions? And how we're doing this, how Mark is doing this, what he's asking about is the system that we both use is a tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink before we eat anything. And why? Let's talk about why. I talk about insulin resistance so much. I talk about what's causing it, but I feel like I haven't been doing a good job of telling everybody how to overcome it. Okay, so there's 6 simple ways that I have, and by the way, I have an ebook. Go to my profile, tap on the links. I will put the link over on YouTube and Facebook, but download the ebook. It's going to give you these 6 simple steps, and you'll get, it's actually from Dr. Jockers. He's a big proponent of fasting too, but a list of proteins, because I am not a specialist on like vegan proteins and whatnot. You guys, I eat chicken, I eat fish, and occasionally I eat red meat. That's my source of proteins, and eggs. And by the way, stop taking the yolks out of your eggs. You need those. That cholesterol is not causing the cholesterol that's bad in your system. So, well, I'm getting this link for everybody, and before I start talking about all that, okay, do you guys tell me if you had a choice between sugar and fat, dietary sugars, carbs, whatever, breads, pastas, all of that stuff, or dietary fats, which do you think is causing the cholesterol problem that's causing clogged arteries and heart problems in your body? Is it fats or is it sugars? Which one do you guys think? Let me get this link for these guys. Good job, Nana. It is sugars. So what's happening is the sugars in your body are, when we have too much, like I just talked about, there we go. When we have too much sugar, it creates a bunch of different responses in our body. And one of them is how your body produces a fat called LDL. Now, with LDL, it's not just one type of molecule with LDL, the damaging fat that everybody talks about, right? There's two types of fat molecules. One is big and buoyant, and one is small and dense. Well, in the presence of insulin resistance, the brain cues you to produce more of that small, dense molecule. You would think it would be the big, buoyant ones that cause the problem, but it's the small, dense one that is causing problems. It's lodging and getting stuck in your arteries and causing this cholesterol buildup. Plus, it creates this cholesterol, not dietary, but physiological cholesterol that's built in our system as it's trying to convert the energy that's causing problems. So PCOS is a dietary disorder that's linked to your ovaries. So if you want to, I'm going to talk about it briefly this morning, but I did do a whole series of videos on PCOS a couple of weeks ago. So let's go over it. Okay, women, we have ovaries, right? And let's take it another step back. Everybody, women and men, have androgens and estrogens in our body. The first thing that happens is we have androgens. Those get converted into estrogens. So estrogen, progesterone, right? Now, in women, most of that process happens in our ovaries. In men, it primarily happens in your testes. So, men, your testes are saying, nope, we're not transferring very much of that testosterone into estrogen because we're a man. So we're holding on to that testosterone. In the presence of insulin resistance through a number of steps where there's misfiring of follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormones in the ovaries, the brain doesn't get the cue to start needing more estrogen or those as a result of those hormones. So the ovaries are not converting testosterone into estrogen like it should in women with PCOS. And how it finds out that I don't understand that question, Armand. So with women in PCOS, when there's insulin resistance, so a couple of things happen. You have a state in your cycle where you're producing eggs, right? You're producing eggs and they start to mature, and one egg gets really ready, and the body goes, okay, we have the perfect egg. So instead of it producing this follicle stimulating hormone, which is FSH, it wants to cue the body to produce luteinizing hormone. That comes as estrogens start to rise in the system, but the brain never gets the cue. So PCOS is happening when we're not switching and turning on the luteinizing hormone because of insulin resistance blocking these signals. And now we don't have this hormone that's coming in and helping get rid of all those other eggs that were created that are not needed. So now those eggs that are not being disintegrated are dropping into the lining of your ovaries, and when that happens, it creates cysts. Poly, meaning many, cystic, the cysts that are created by these eggs that are never allowed to dissipate out of the ovaries. So it's a hormonal miscue that's causing it. So now you have longer periods. You have painful periods. Of course you do, because you have all of this buildup in your ovaries. So I said it's converting estrogen. Oh, so how it finds out about the gender? XX and XY, right? So your bodies are built different based on those chromosomes. So men have testicles, I said that. Women have ovaries. That's where those hormones are being converted. Men, the testicles, the testes, cue differently for testosterone production than ovaries do in women. in women, and this is also why with PCOS, not only do you have painful periods and long periods and a hard time getting pregnant, but now your ovaries are not converting all of this testosterone into estrogen in a normal cycle. So at different times during the month, you have a different need for estrogen. Instead, it's shutting down that conversion of testosterone into estrogen, and so you have excess testosterone in your system. Now you have weight gain problems, you have male pattern balding, you have hair on your face, you have a number of like aggression and anxiety issues. In men with insulin resistance, let's talk about that. So your testicles are normally taking the testosterone and saying, oh, we don't want to convert so much into estrogen because we're a man, right? But when you have insulin resistance, and if you weren't here for that whole process earlier, once the cells in the body start to become resistant to the cues from insulin, insulin starts putting it in your energy storehouse, which is your fat cells. Now, fat cells in men sort of mimic ovaries in women, wherein those fat cells convert more and more testosterone into estrogen. So there's a reason why as a man gets more and more obese, he starts to lose muscle mass, he starts to have a patchy beard, he starts to have man boobs and love handles, because more of his testosterone is being converted into estrogen. So now he's having more feminine-like qualities on his body, and he's having erectile dysfunction as well. So according to doctors like Bickman, PCOS and erectile dysfunction should be more aptly labeled metabolic infertility. I hope that explains it. I mean, it's a simple, but if you want to know more about it, Armand, I'm going to encourage you to go get this book. And I'm not sure if Fung talks about it, but Dr. Bickman covers it in depth in here and links studies about how all of this is happening. And he has a whole chapter focusing on just that. So if you need more in-depth answers to that, just check his book out. Otherwise, I hope that answered it. And for the person who had the questions about PCOS, I don't have pictures of them here, but of course I'm menopausal. Does that mean that my PCOS is gone? Well, I still have a dysregulation of hormones, right? But women who are younger, who had PCOS, who had the painful periods, who had the irregular periods, who were told they were likely never going to be able to start a family, a number of them have gotten their periods normalized. The ones who wanted to start families, some of them, because we started working with them almost 2 years ago, some of them already have 1-year-old children, and they were told they had PCOS, but all their PCOS symptoms are gone as they got their insulin resistance under control. Okay, so there's that. I hope that answers the PCOS question. Armand, I hope that answered your questions. So guys, if you're having problems with testosterone, with erectile dysfunction, understand that just adding more testosterone may not be the answer. A couple of things about testosterone therapy. Remember, I worked in a hormone clinic for a long time. Is that once you start doing those exogenous that bioidentical testosterone, whatever, even the injections, you're cueing your body that it doesn't need to produce testosterone. So now if you even try to come off of them, your body's going to have a time where it goes, oh, okay, this is my job again. So if you don't need testosterone, and you can do this by getting your insulin resistance under control and get your testosterone levels back to normal, then I would suggest that. So I showed Jason earlier who was having those problems, and he never did testosterone therapy. His testosterone levels are now normal. His function is now back. I have a school teacher, and his name is David. He had both testosterone problems and erectile dysfunction. Within 3 months of starting the system, his testosterone levels were back in normal range. His function was back because the insulin resistance wasn't interfering with the cues the natural cues of how testosterone and estrogen convert in our bodies. And so I think it was interesting that somebody asked how, sorry, I'm laughing, I shouldn't be, but how a woman's body knows over a man's body. Or if that's a question, then we really need to go back to some other learning, because why, if there was no difference between our bodies and how our bodies cue that, then why do we even have man and woman in the first place? It's a question I have. All right, so questions about anything else up here, you guys, whether it's the stubborn weight. One of the things I haven't talked about in a while is, if you're having, does anybody else experience, when I had this, when I was insulin resistant, and look, all of this stuff I was going to the doctor for, and the doctor wasn't able to answer what was happening. We did blood work, we did MRIs, we did CAT scans, we did all of these crazy workups to try and figure out why my health was failing. And they were looking over here and over here and over here, but nobody was just like, hey, there's one thing that might address all of this, because once I addressed that one thing, all of that got better. So if you eat, and does anybody else experience, like, you get cold after you eat? Like, I used to get goosebumps after I ate, and I'd be like, man, I even asked my doctor, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm having goosebumps after I eat. Like, I get cold, and I just get like, I just want to curl up in a blanket because I'm so freaking cold. What's happening? And the doctors couldn't explain it. Does anybody else have that happen? Yes, you can take the system to maintain your health. So there's a number of people, it's about $5 a day, Paul. So the cue is 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy. It's just that most of us don't know it until we get this diagnosis of diabetes. If you get cold after you eat, that's a function of, you have so much insulin in your body that it's grabbing the sugar. So when you eat, remember, it's hitting your system like a freight train. So you eat and your body gets this surge of sugar, and so the body produces all this insulin, and the insulin comes in and grabs that sugar and just runs it out to everywhere it can, including the fat cells. But now you're left with, you had this really high point of energy. Insulin, in its vigilance, has just delivered it all. And so it drops your blood sugar level, okay, which is probably a good thing, but when it's happening too quickly like this, now your blood sugar drops really rapidly, you get tired, you get cold, you have shivers, because all of that energy hit your system too quickly. So, all right, let's talk about that. These are the same as premenopausal symptoms. So do you know, Marie, that there's a close link between insulin resistance and what most women are experiencing as premenopausal symptoms? Because I was like, I'm about to explain to Paul, this can be happening in your body for 14 years or more before you ever get diagnosed as diabetic. And most women, because of what's happening with your hormones, it's not just the hormones causing this, it's the dysregulation of insulin in most of our bodies when we hit premenopause, menopause, postmenopause, that it's exacerbating all of those symptoms. In fact, the women who have the highest and the hardest hot flashes, when they've done studies, have been the women who are the most insulin resistant. So I'm going to take it a couple of steps back. When we talk about insulin and how that energy is hitting our system, right? And Paul, your A1C is only 5.6. This was happening to me before I got diagnosed with diabetes too. For years it was happening, and nobody could tell me why. So here's why. When we have this energy that's delivering to the system too quickly, the body's cueing insulin to come out. Now we have these chronically high levels of insulin all the time. That chronically high level of insulin over time becomes insulin resistance, as the cells of the body start to be like, I'm so sick of hearing from you, I don't want any more. Now, insulin is delivering these blood sugars to every cell in the body. Every cell is susceptible to insulin because every cell needs energy to grow. But when those cells start to become resistant, your body goes, your insulin says, well, I have to offload this somewhere. And so the storage, the energy storage in our body, the storehouse is our fat cells. And we have two types of fat cells. So it's going to start packing it in that white jiggly fat. But when you start to become more insulin resistant, the body's going to cue it to be stored as that visceral fat. So some people may be lean on the outside, but they're fat on the inside, that's skinny fat. Now, only when those fat cells start to get too full does it start to spill back out into the bloodstream and elevate your A1C. My A1C was 5.6 or lower for years. And now when we look back at the symptoms and understand all of this stuff that was happening to me, my A1C didn't start climbing until late in my 55th year. And then through my 56th year, it was just climbing. And then it seemed like every time we checked it, it was climbing higher and higher. And, but nobody still related all of this to that climbing A1C. So the body cells take up enough insulin that they're just like, I don't want any more. And then the body starts filling up, the insulin starts passing that energy off into your fat cells. So I was going to talk about fat cells a little bit too, because I think this is important. So some of us, like I'll show you the slides of Cindy and Karen, because they're a great example of this. Some of us have a greater propensity to grow fat cells. Like Cindy was extremely obese, and yet her A1C was only 5.6. Karen was only mildly obese, and yet her A1C was like 11.1 or something. So once those fat cells, and they want to preserve themselves just like every other cell in the body, they grow and they grow and they grow, and they're like, oh, if I take on any more of this energy, I might just explode. So nope, I'm not going to let you store any more of that in my system. And that energy, sugar, starts spilling back out in your bloodstream. So that's when your blood sugar starts to go up, and then eventually your A1C starts to go up. That's when you finally get diagnosed as diabetic, when this insulin resistance has been going on for so long in your body that all of these factors start to happen. So A1C is not a great indicator of whether you're insulin resistant or not. And if you want to know, Paul, are you guys ready for a calculation? Get your pen and paper out, and I'm going to give you a calculation that will help you understand. It's going to help you understand how much cholesterol problem you have in your body, but it's also going to give you a cue as to whether you're insulin resistant or not, because insulin resistance is causing that cholesterol. In fact, 95% of high blood pressure is caused by high insulin levels or chronic insulin resistance. So get your paper and pen out. Now, you're going to go to your last labs. I'm sure most of you guys don't have them, so just write this down. If you look at your last labs and you go to the cholesterol panel, find your triglycerides, take that number and write it down. And then, nope, we're not going to look at the LDL. We're going to look at the HDL. So you're going to write that number down. Then you're going to divide your triglycerides by your HDL. Okay. A really good number is 1.5. I've heard Dr. Bickman talk about that in a podcast in his book. He says 2.0. The NIH says 2.0. So we're going to go with 2.0 right now. So triglycerides divided by HDL. If the number is below 2.0, that's one indicator that you might be doing better. If it's 2.0 or higher, then you probably should start looking at the fact that you're insulin resistant, especially if you have any of these other symptoms along with it. So now it's not perfect, right? What that's doing is measuring, helping them have an indication of what type of LDL you have in your body. Crazy, right? But that LDL ratio, remember, whether it's type A, the big buoyant one, or type B, the small dense one, that's what that ratio is telling us really, is how much of that is in our body. The higher that number, the higher amount of the small molecule LDL that's causing cholesterol problems, and that buildup in your veins is, and that also leads to that you're probably insulin resistant. So beyond that, you guys, there's a couple of things that we can do to tell if we're insulin resistant beyond the A1C, because that's just not working, right? It just doesn't work because, like for me, we now realize, like I had a head injury, by the way, head injuries and trauma can start to set you off to insulin resistance. Ladies, you are mildly insulin resistant in pregnancy. That's just a process of pregnancy. If you're not breastfeeding, part of breastfeeding is allowing your body the cues to understand that you don't need to be insulin resistant anymore. So all the ladies who are missing the breastfeeding, it's not just about your baby's health, it's about your health and how your body transitions back out of that insulin resistant stage into an insulin sensitive stage. So any of you who are in birthing years understand that you're not just doing your baby a disservice by not breastfeeding, you're doing yourself and your own metabolism a disservice by not breastfeeding. You have 6 times more insulin receptors in your breast tissue than anywhere else in your body. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of other indications that it could be insulin resistance for you. I'm trying to get the slides up, so give me a second and we'll get there. All right, here we are. Okay, so let's take a look at this, you guys. Thank you for all the loves and likes, you guys. I sure do appreciate it. And this is important information, so please do feel free to share it out with people who are suffering so that they can start to get better too. All right, so when we look at insulin resistance, these are some clues that you might be insulin resistant. Number one is that hypertension. If your blood pressure is 130 over 80 or higher, you're likely insulin resistant. Remember, 95% of high blood pressure comes from insulin resistance. I've done whole series on those. It's going to be a couple of weeks before I do that series again. Skin tags are skin cells that are taking up too much energy in this insulin resistant stage, creating too many skin cells, and now they pop out from the skin. Those are insulin resistance, and so is acanthosis nigricans, too much melanin being produced as a result of insulin resistance. We talked about PCOS and erectile dysfunction. Those 5 things, any one of those 5 things, just bet that you're insulin resistant, okay? But there's more. So I talked about that ratio of triglycerides to HDL. But if you have that bulging belly, whether you're skinny or fat, if like from the sides and the front you look great, but you turn to the side and it's like, oh, there's this belly, that's insulin resistance. Your brain is cueing you to store more fat under the muscle wall. That happens with insulin resistance. High triglycerides. Remember, mine were like 198. You guys, they should be below 120. High triglycerides, they're saying this research had said under 150, but like, look, if you can get it under 120, you're even better. And a low HDL. Those are signs of insulin resistance. If you're retaining water, having edema, neuropathy, those are signs of insulin resistance. If you're constantly hungry, if you have those cold spells, especially after you eat, like you eat, you got to unbuckle your pants because you're so full and a half an hour later you're looking for something because you're hungry, that's insulin resistance. If you're having chronic fatigue, body aches and pains, fibromyalgia, all of that, that's insulin resistance. So any one of those, but especially if you have a combination of those, just understand that you're likely insulin resistant. Now, here's an interesting thing, and some people don't like when I go here, but if this is a dietary disorder, why are we looking to medicine to fix it? Have you ever asked yourself that? And what happens? What happens when you take a dietary disorder and you start shoving medicine at the body, something that the body, you're forcing it to do, like all these GLP-1s. Yes, actually, let's talk about that. Thank you for asking that question. So let me get myself situated over here on Facebook and YouTube. So, all right, postmenopause. By the way, I do some estrogen progesterone replacement because our bodies are not producing enough. One thing we need to understand, ladies, is that estrogen is an insulin protective hormone. So if at any point in our day, our lives, we're starting to have drops in estrogen, we're having problems with regulating insulin. So this happens even more so for us in menopause or postmenopause, right? Because now our ovaries are like, hey, yo, I don't need to produce eggs anymore, so we're just not going to go through this whole cycle. We're just not going to convert so much. We're just not producing as many hormones because we don't need to. We're past that stage in life. So now we have less estrogen, and estrogen protects us from the excess effects of insulin, okay? So in my journey, there's a couple of things that have happened with me. I was so insulin resistant that it was causing damage to my liver, and it caused me to have a myriad of gallstones. Nobody ever talked about it. All of these CAT scans and all the stuff that we had, nobody ever assessed my gallbladder. I ended up septic about 2 hours from death after I started the system. The system isn't going to help with that damage, that kind of damage within 6 months. It's just not. So I had these gallstones, they lodged, they caused me to be septic. They said I was about 2 hours from death, had to have my gallstone removed or my gallbladder removed. So now, when you have your gallbladder removed, there's even more dysregulation of hormones, including thyroid hormones. And most women, especially women who have their gallbladders removed, which how many women have been told to have your gallbladder removed when you were pregnant? Thankfully, it wasn't a thing when I was going through that. But when you do that, now you're increasing your risk of insulin resistance. Your body just is miscuing all of these hormones. So now my journey looks a little different because of that. I'm postmenopausal, not producing as much estrogen. I have no gallbladder, and so I have all this other dysregulation. So I am doing some, I just started about 2 months ago, and I'm feeling much better with some bioidentical hormone replacement. Be careful with the hormones that you're replacing with, because there's a balance between that progesterone and estrogen that you need. So all the stuff that's like on Amazon and whatnot, avoid it. Find a physician who can actually give you a ratio of estrogen and estradiol. Too much estrogen in postmenopause. Do you have too much estrogen in postmenopause? That's a good question. So you shouldn't be having too much problems with you're having problems, your body's putting out too much. I'm gonna have to do some research on that, Suzanne, because I just don't have a good answer. So let me write that one down and let me see what I can find. Uh-oh. Trying to take a picture and I shut it down. Okay, so and no gallbladder either. So that's a good question. So the no gallbladder part, I can okay, good. So just make sure when you're doing the hormone replacement that it's actually been looked at by a doctor and regulated by them. They're going to say that. Because there does have to be a balance, and that balance is going to depend on you and your symptoms, and Amazon can't tell you that. Okay, so your estrogen level is 20. So I'm not a physician, but I'm more than happy to look at this and see what I can find in postmenopause estrogen being too much and insulin resistance. I'd be happy to see what I can find. Now, as far as the gallbladder, on my page, there's not just a sales page for the program, the system that I use that's helped me become more insulin sensitive, reverse my diabetes and all of that stuff. At the very bottom, there's my recommendations. So what I'm doing for my no gallbladder, because I was having extreme pain, gastritis, all of that early this year, and I was starting to have problems with maintaining my weight. So I started to have to look at how to help my liver, okay? So I do some bile salts when I eat, and I do digestive enzymes. With no gallbladder, you're not able to store those things, and so I don't take them between eating. I take them when I eat to assist my body in digesting the food that I do eat, so that it's more normal, and I don't have the gastritis pain Now, unless I get a hold of something that's really high in sugar, which is very rare, but like if I go out to eat with the family and we happen to get something that was cooked in seed oils, that's when I notice it the most with the no gallbladder. So you guys, when I talk about seed oils, those were primarily developed as a machine oil, and the hexane that they drench those things in to pull the oils out of something that was not meant to make oil is highly neurotoxic, meaning it's difficult on the brain. But it also causes more problems with insulin resistance by causing inflammation in the body. So the only oils I have in my house, now I recommend avocado oil, I don't have any. I have extra virgin olive oil, which is very rarely used. Primarily, I just use straight 100% whole cream butter, and I have coconut oil. So those are the things that I use. Like I have been doing some protein shakes in the morning, so I'm doing a different type of fasting, and I add a little bit of coconut milk in there for a healthy oil. Now, MCTs come out of coconut oil, but there's a whole lot of other things in that coconut oil. So if you can add MCTs in alongside of everything else or in a drink or two, that's going to help you with the healthy benefits of fat, but not affect your gallbladder so much. So, and by the way, outside of that, maybe it goes through me really quickly. I don't have like gastritis pain and some of those issues when I'm using those oils. So butter and coconut oil in my house, occasionally olive oil. But I don't have the gastritis pain. The only time I have gastritis pain from no gallbladder, even if I'm eating a higher amount of those fats, is when I get a hold of seed oils, and I don't allow them in my house. My kids don't have them in their house because they are damaging to your body. You guys, one thing I want you to think about is this. When you look at what's a good choice for oil or for fat, if you, Maria, let me answer that real quick here. If you can't squeeze it or naturally get it, like you know that coconut, if you were to squeeze the fruit of a coconut, you're going to get a lot of fat out of that, right? That's a good oil. Avocado, the same. You know that that's pretty fatty on its own. But is corn really fatty? Why are we eating corn oil? Why? If you can't squeeze it out of it, it was never meant to be used as an oil for you. There are some oils like black seed oil that may be good for you, but the rest of them I would stay away from. Okay, your daughter is 26 and had her gallbladder removed at 12, now thyroid problems. So Susan, she's likely, I'm going to say, so, and then Maria, we're going to talk about this right now because look, if you can do the same protocol that I'm doing, that's just real food, that's helping address the insulin resistance. So if she's able to do that and start to reverse some of these things without chemical additives, without all the medications that are causing all the damage, would that be worth it? Because it has been for many people. So I'm not a proponent of medications. I've seen so many people in my years in medical that would come in and they started with one medication and all of a sudden they're on bags of medications because each of those causes another reaction in the body. So how to reverse it. There's 6 simple steps. I'll try to go through them really quick. Download my ebook. The link was posted in there. If we need to post it again, I can do that right now. So go to this link, Maria, and find the ebook. These 6 steps are going to be there. Also, the protocol that I use is in the top link of that. So you want to get fiber first every time you eat, before you eat. That's what's going to slow down the conversion of this energy into glucose too quick. That's causing these insulin spikes. So fiber first every time you eat. Then you want to prioritize proteins. And I'm going to be doing a video on proteins today because there's too much and there's too little. And we want to kind of hit that sweet spot. But you want to prioritize proteins. Then you want to fill up with healthy fats. Okay, these are all steps that you're going to start to do to reverse your insulin resistance. Then you're going to limit your carbohydrates. Then you're going to do some time-based eating, meaning some intermittent fasting. Give your body a break from producing insulin all the time. That's all intermittent fasting is. You're just allowing your body to take a break and then move your body. Some of us are so insulin resistant so much in pain, like I was up here with the walker and the cane, that I just couldn't um, move. I was hurting. I wanted to exercise, but I just felt like I couldn't. What I want you to understand is 25 to 30% of the makeup of your body is in your muscle. And so it's probably the largest organ that's going to take up that insulin when we need it. And it's going to be the most insulin sensitive. And a muscle that's moving is going to be taking up that insulin as a result. And the insulin really is just a transport for the energy that the muscle needs. So move your body, whether it's walking, qigong, something, just move your body, because in the process of moving, we're becoming more insulin sensitive. Okay, take a walk, dance around your house, be happy, do some stuff. Okay, so if the ebook gives you the oils that I recommend or the fats that I recommend, you'll get a list of healthy proteins. Okay, so you're doing plant-based organic. So I have a lady who is doing pescatarian and only bought all her stuff from the farmer's market. She was still having problems. She started on the system and started realizing her inflammation was going down. Some of the health issues that she couldn't explain went away, and now she's healthier than ever, and she was shocked because she felt like she had a really clean diet. So what I need you to understand is this: even in what we consider raw organic foods, our foods have been stripped of fiber. So if we look at a peach was about the size of this, okay? It was crunchy, mildly sweet, a little bit bitter, not juicy. That was fiber creating that. Now you go to the store and you get a peach, and it's not even the size of my fist anymore. It's bigger than the size of my fist, and it's super juicy. You bite into it, all that's dripping down your face, that's sugar. And that's happening because fibers have been stripped out. So it works for some people. I did that. I went vegetarian for a year. I wasn't getting better. I did the medical medium. I did all the black seed oil and the berberine and blah, 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 blah. And I had, I still have a Ninja, but I had a Ninja, and I had this counter full of all this stuff that I was mixing up to try and get my health back. And it was crazy, the protocol that I had to go through. We even have a naturopathic gal up in Toronto who had a whole clinic. And she had this whole list of stuff. Well, just do this. I love it when people hop on and be like, berberine, black seed oil, blah, blah, blah. And she was giving these guys this whole protocol similar to what I was doing to try and get them better. And then she stumbled on the same system that I use: 3 packets, a tea in the morning, a pre-meal drink. She uses it, and now she's actually recommending it to her patients because it's way more sustainable and works quicker than that whole thing of stuff that goes on. Flax seeds can be helpful, but they're not going to do the job that this does. So what you also need to understand is every food, the fiber in that food has a different reaction in your body. So it takes specific fibers, this is by science, to help reduce the blood glucose spikes. So they're not all going to be found in flaxseed oils or flax seeds, okay? That's a great start. But instead of so if that's what you want to do, Suzanne, and that's working for you, great. I'm just saying, for everybody who doesn't want to go through all of those things and who wants to get the results that myself and everyone else has gotten, that's been doing the system and turned their life around, it's simple, because it's this. 3 packets we mix in water. I have it in ice cold water. It's getting colder out, so as the weather changes, I may have it hot. But I can drink this hot or cold. This goes with me in the airport. We're going to go up to Pennsylvania this weekend. We're going to have a family day. I'm going to be away from home all day. Guess what? I toss this in my purse. I have a water bottle at the pumpkin patch. I can mix this in and drink it down. We have treats at the pumpkin patch. I have my fiber. I'm not looking for a salad. I'm not looking for flaxseed oils. I'm not looking, because it has to be 10 minutes before you eat the rest of your food, right? So it's not just flaxseed oils at any point in the day. It's at a specific time right before you eat. So now if we go out and we have whatever yummy treats they're going to have there, because they have all this stuff for the kiddos to do, I'm going to enjoy the day with my grandson. So I will just have this. I'll probably take more than 2 packets of this. because every time I eat something, I'm gonna put this in to protect me from the glucose spike. And that's it. Now I'm not worried about carrying around bottles and all this stuff that I don't know how I'm gonna move through my day with. It's simple. These packets in my purse and water where I can find it, and I take my water bottle with me everywhere, and that's it. It's an easy, simple, sustainable life. So you guys, and in the end, you get to choose, right? Yeah, Maria, I did. I mean, the book is still, it's sitting right back here. I'm such a nut, you guys. I love science and whatnot, so I spent weeks reading his book, Cleanse to Heal, and I took every single symptom and listened to him and was like, oh, well, it's this, oh, well, it's that, oh, well, it's, all these things. And so I created these huge spreadsheets, and I went through and I found all of the things that were similar for all of the symptoms I had. And I was like, okay, well, this one works for all of these symptoms, and this one works for all of these symptoms. And I created my own shake to address as many of the symptoms that he talked about in that book. And that's what I would make every single morning. Now, if I'm going to Pennsylvania, or say I'm on a couple of day trip, how am I going to mix all of that stuff up? How am I going to carry frozen organic blueberries with me everywhere I go, on an airplane, on all that? I'm not. Plus, it was helping. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I wasn't getting the results. My A1C wasn't going down. I wasn't losing weight. I was still having brain fog. I was still having all of that. And it was horrible. Like every morning I'm getting up and I'm like, I gotta put all this stuff in this big, and then I end up with this green shake, and then I start adding black seed oil to it. Okay? Then you're trying to choke something down you really don't like, and you're not getting that much better. And then right about the time that I realized that wasn't working for me is when I found the protocol that I'm using. It does have scientific studies and clinical studies with it. It's allowed to be in the PDR, even though it's food, because it has enough studies behind it that says it works. Okay, we have partnerships with like the Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world, the University of Sydney, the creators of the glycemic index, Dr. Jenny Brand Miller from that university has done studies and done statements on this product. So some of the top metabolic doctors in the world, some of the top metabolic scientists and clinics have done studies on this and recommend it. We have doctors and physicians who are now using it, and some of them are saying that it's the best thing that they've seen come across in medicine in 20 years. You're not damaging your body by putting chemicals in. You're not doing all of that. You're supporting your body. You're addressing the root cause. If it's dietary that we have this problem, because our food industry, and I'm gonna get into conspiracy theory moment for just a second, you guys, because it's real. All right, so we have a food industry that makes money by selling you food. Anybody else older like me and remember that we didn't have all these flip-flapping snacks everywhere. Like our gas stations, we had some candy bars and we maybe had some drinks. We didn't have all these protein snacks and these like all this stuff that are really just sugar. Okay, look at those protein snacks. Most of them have way more sugar than you want to take in, and they taste like crud. But they're telling you need to eat every 2 hours. Who said that? The food industry said that. No metabolic scientist ever said you need to eat every 2 hours. Yeah, I'll be 60 in February, and who would have thought a few years ago that I would be looking forward to being 60? Because at 55 and 56, I dreaded it. But now I'm like, yeah, let me hit 60 because I feel better than ever. I will be so proud to say I'm 60 years old and feeling this good, right? And this is all I did, was the tea in the morning and the pre-meal drink before I eat. Like, look, I just did a video yesterday on my day. I'm doing an every other day fast right now to help heal my liver. But so yesterday I actually ate 4 meals. I had a high fat, high protein drink in the morning. I had sausage and eggs for my first solid meal. I was trying to get in more protein yesterday I'm trying to up my my exercise and whatnot. So every 4 hours in the 12-hour period that I was allowed to eat, and I just had the protein in a low carbohydrate, higher fat meal at 4 hours, and then at night I went to my kids' house and we had tikka masala, we had naan, they had some rice. I wasn't gonna do the rice, and I ate a quarter cup of rice, which I now wish I wouldn't have. But I don't know if anybody knows palak shot. We found it a few months ago, and I'm in love. It's a spinach dish, amazing. And it's the crazy thing is, through the factors of fasting and doing all of these, I don't normally eat them, but there's a really great cupcake place in town, and I knew my daughter-in-law, because I was in that area, would love a pumpkin spice cupcake, and it was their special for the day. So I got some cupcakes to take for dessert, and when it came time for us to have like a dessert, guess what? I ate the rest of the spinach salad instead of a cupcake because I no longer want those things. And that's an amazing choice for me. So I'll be talking about that in videos later. But you guys, that's all I do. A tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink that gives me satiety and the fiber and allows my insulin spikes to come down. And if you want to know more about it, I would love to help you. But it's way past time for me to be off of this live, and I have messages coming in all over the place. I'll be back at 3 o'clock today to talk. You guys, I apologize for the last 2 days. Day one at 3 o'clock, there's been a random leak in my unit, and so I had people in here working on it, and I couldn't go live because they were in and out and too much noise. And then yesterday, I sat down to go live, and they started working on the parking lot right outside, and the noise was so loud, I just couldn't. I will be live today. If I have to go to a different location to do it, I'll be live today. We will talk to you guys at 3. Thanks for hanging out with me. Check out my profile. Get the free ebook. It's absolutely free, you guys. Just use it to start getting yourself on your way back to health. And then check out anything else I have there, including my website, which gives more information on all of these products. Thank you, Silly. So, all right, love you. We'll see you at 3. Again, thanks for hanging out with me. Really appreciate the time investment for yourself and your trust in me when you hang out. Have a good day, guys. Bye, Maria. Thank you. I hope I answered some of your questions. Join me back at 3 and let's answer some more if you have them. And 60 looks pretty good, doesn't it?